A lot of women really don't want to fuck.
No one.
A lot of my longtime followers know that I used to be a big fan of this show on HBO called Entourage. Entourage. And there was this character on Entourage named Johnny Drama, played by Matt Dillon's brother. Man, I can't remember his name. I'm going to have to look it up. I actually met this actor too, because I went to the season 3 premiere party for Entourage in Hollywood. That was in June of 2006. Yeah, June of 2006. I was actually at the season 3 premiere party. Matter of fact, at one point I was standing right next to Paris Hilton, if you know who that is. Yeah, me and Jeremy Pivens, me and the actor Jeremy Pivens, we actually had a conversation about Mo 1 at that party. Yeah, let me hold on one second. I'm forgetting the guy who played Johnny Drama. Kevin Dillon. That's his name. Kevin Dillon. He's the brother to Matt Dillon, famous actor. Anyway, Johnny Drama on that show, one of his favorite things was, victory! Victory! He would always say that if he did achieve something or accomplish something or he got the best of somebody in an argument or something, he would say, victory! Victory! Well, I got to do, just listeners, just allow me to do this much gloating. Just this much gloating. I got to do some gloating here. Or as Tony Maceo would probably call me, rubbing my balls. But I do. I have to do just a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit of gloating. You know, obviously, I did 3 videos that were pretty much a response and rebuttal to my YouTube arch nemesis, so to speak. My YouTube arch nemesis, the old man, aka the Grim Reaper. First, he came out with a video. Well, actually, he came out with 2 videos. He came out with 2 videos about me. Then I offered him a reply. Then he offered a reply to my reply. Then I offered him a second reply. Then he offered a reply to that one. Then I offered him a third reply, which was just Monday. Yeah, Monday was my third and final reply to him. And I actually said in that video that I wasn't going to reply to him anymore, that I was going to end it right there. But the only reason I'm still mentioning his name is because I scored a victory. How so? Well, if you remember in my last video, and I told him this. Here's the thing. I told the old man, aka the Grim Reaper, this back, I want to say last July. I gave him a fair warning. I said, man, when he got on this kick where he was starting to criticize me a lot and take jabs at me. And I said, the one thing that's going to separate me from all the other people you've gone after is the simple fact that you spent over 1.5 years promoting my books. And I said, in the long run, that's going to make you look stupid. That's going to make you look stupid. And at the time, his response was, well, no, even though I have my criticisms against you, I still love your books. I still love your books. I still think at least 2 of your books are excellent, which is The Possibility of Sex and The Beta Male Revolution. He said, even though I have my criticisms against you, I still think those 2 books are excellent. So, you know, he didn't really take heed to that warning. But I told him, I said, there's going to come a time when this is going to make you look stupid. Well, that time, it took a while for it to come, but that time finally came. Good things come to those who wait. That instance that I warned him about finally came this week. To give you the recap, it started with his last reply he directed at me. Among other things, he called me an immoral sociopath because of the fact that I've publicly admitted that I've had sex with other men's wives, other men's fiancés, and other men's girlfriends. And he frowns on that. He said he doesn't approve of that at all. He thinks that's representative of an immoral sociopath. But as I pointed out in my last reply, the kicker was, if he hates that characteristic so much, why was he promoting my book, The Possibility of Sex, for over 1.5 years, starting with November of 2015? He promoted my book, The Possibility of Sex. Even after we fell out, if there's at least 2 books he was still promoting of mine, was The Possibility of Sex and The Beta Male Revolution. But the thing is, in chapter 9 of The Possibility of Sex, I openly say in that chapter that I had had sex with other men's wives, other men's fiancés, and other men's girlfriends. Which begged the question, that left him with 2 scenarios. Either he was promoting a book that he did not thoroughly read. Either he was promoting a book that he did not thoroughly read, which makes him look bad. Or he knew that I already had that characteristic, and later on he was trying to act like he didn't. It's one of those 2. I would go with the second option, actually. I would go to the second option. He knew that I had sex with other men's women. Because I told him in at least one phone conversation we had. I told him that I had. But let's just say, for argument's sake, let's say he forgot or he wasn't paying attention. Let's say he forgot or he wasn't paying attention. Then you would have to go back to the first option, which is he promoted a book that he did not thoroughly read. Which, again, that makes him look bad. Like, where's my book? Now, what's the one book I promoted probably ever since I've been on YouTube, other than my own books. Probably the single book I promoted the most other than my own book is this book called What Do Women Want by Daniel Bergner. See, here's what I did before I interviewed Daniel Bergner on my Blog Talk Radio show. Not only did I read his book thoroughly once, I read his book thoroughly twice. I read his book a minimum of 2 times, 2 full times. I'm not talking about reading like 1/3 of the chapters or a half of the chapters or 2/3 of the chapters. I read his book from front cover to back cover twice before I even invited him to be a guest on my show. I read his book twice before I even invited him to be a guest on my show. I would never enthusiastically promote somebody's book that I didn't read thoroughly. That makes no sense. I mean, let's say just hypothetically, let's say there was this book, I can't think of a fictional topic, but let's say a Caucasian guy had a book that based on the title, I assumed it was going to be a good book. And let's say that book had 15 chapters in it, right? Let's say that book had 15 chapters in it. And let's say I read 11 of those chapters. I read the first 11 of the 15 chapters, And I went and told all my friends, man, this is a good book. Man, this is a good book. This book is excellent. This book is excellent. Now remember, I only read the first 11 chapters, and it has 15 chapters in the book. Now let's say weeks later or months later, somebody says, Alan, why are you promoting that book so much? I said, oh, it's a good book. And the person says, no, it's not. Because in chapter 14, he has a paragraph where he says all black men are lazy and intellectually inferior to white men. Why would you promote a book that would say that? And all of a sudden I'm like, what? Where does it say that? They say it's right there in chapter 14. And then I think to myself, damn, I didn't read chapter 14. See, that would make me look stupid. I mean, seriously. From that point forward, when it comes to recommending a book, I'm going to lose credibility.
You always hear me talk about credibility, and I'm going to touch on that a little later in this very video podcast. But that would make me lose credibility, man. It would be like a movie critic offering a review of a book, a review of a movie, but he only watched the first 2/3 or the first 3/4 of the movie and then walked out the theater. How can you offer a thorough review of a movie if you didn't watch the movie from start to finish? Same with an album. It's like a music critic offering a review of someone's music album, and say it was, 20 songs on the album, but you only listen to 16 of those 20 songs. That would make you look stupid. If it came out that you didn't listen to at least 4 of the songs on that album, that would make you look stupid for offering a review. So for you young people, I'm giving you kind of a lesson right now. There's a term that businessmen use and other people who are very thorough use, and that's known simply as due diligence. Due diligence. Keep that in mind. Most older men probably know that term already, but I know I got a lot of young listeners that are like 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. You want to always, when it comes to speaking on a person, or speaking on behalf of a book, or speaking on behalf of a newspaper article or magazine article or whatever, man, you can't get a reputation for talking out your ass, man. Once you get a reputation for talking out your ass, you're going to lose credibility among most of your more intelligent followers, man. Most people who are intelligent, man, they don't like for people to talk out their ass, man. You got to do your due diligence, which simply means you got to do your homework. You got to do your necessary research. So for example, if I'm going to do a speaking presentation, I don't know, in another country. Let's say I'm going to do a speaking presentation in another country. And I know within my speaking presentation, I want to offer a few maybe either serious or lighthearted generalizations of the type of men and the type of women in that country. See, before I do something like that, I would have to do my due diligence. Because if I was to express a generalization, say about men and women who live in India, or men and women who live in Germany, or men and women who live in France, and I said something that was representative of me not knowing what the fuck I'm talking about, that would make me lose credibility. If I do a speaking engagement, say in Paris, France, and I say, hey, fellas, all French women do this, this, and this, and the French guys are looking like, no, they don't. Where'd you get that from? French women don't do that. What are you talking about? See, that made me look like I'm talking out my ass, man, because I didn't do my due diligence. So whenever you prepare for something like a speaking presentation or a business-related presentation, or you get ready to do an interview with somebody who wrote a book, something of that nature, you got to do what's called your due diligence, man. You got to do your due diligence. Like, I did one video last year where I actually, speaking of generalizations, I kind of generalized a percentage of black men, but I don't totally regret it. But I said, there's not all black men, not most black men, but I would say there's definitely a percentage of black men who don't like to read. They don't like to read, man. And I was encouraging more black men to read books instead of watching TV all the time. And I'm sorry, looking at notifications. Lost my train of thought. Oh, I was going to mention that. Yeah, when I did my Blog Talk Radio show, do you know on a lot of weeks when I did my Blog Talk Radio show, because I interviewed a lot of guests who had written books, man, I would read like 2 full books a week. 2 full books a week. I know some guys who don't read 2 full books in a year. And I'm not even joking. I know some guys who don't read 2 full books in a year. When I did my Blog Talk Radio show, man, I used to a lot of weeks read 2 full books per week. Not just like half the book or 3/4 of the book. I would read books from the like I remember one example. Like I remember when I mentioned on a recent podcast, I interviewed this guy named John Berger. I remember I read his whole book before I interviewed him. When I interviewed Rollo Tomasi on my show, I read his book, The Rational Male. I read that from front cover to back cover before I interviewed him. I did that with any guest who wrote a book. Here's where I learned my lesson. So I'm going to tell you a time when I embarrassed myself. I remember this one time I had this guy who wrote me. And he said he had a book about encouraging honest conversations between fathers and daughters and stepfathers and daughters. Honest conversations between women and their father or stepfather. And I took him on his word. So I invited him to be a guest on my show because he asked me to be a guest. I didn't really invite him. He asked me, could he be a guest on my show? And I said, okay. So I start off interviewing the guy and I say, so give me an example of a real honest conversation you had with your daughter or stepdaughter. He said, oh, I don't have any daughters. Man, my heart sunk. I was like, what? He said, I don't have any daughters. I got 3 sons. And then I was basically like, well, then how the fuck did you write a book about honest conversations with your daughter or stepdaughter? He said, oh, that's because I'm a hairstylist and I'm always around women and I overhear them talking about things they wish their father told them, things they wish their stepfather told them, things they wish their older brother told them. I hear that all the time, so I decided to write a book about it. Man, my whole chat room, man, most of them actually started dogging him out. And they basically immediately said, this guy has no credibility, which is the truth. He had no credibility. Again, I talk about credibility all the time, man. He had no credibility. And then at least a handful of my chat room users, they actually criticized me. And I had to take that criticism. They were basically like, I know one of my closest female friends, her name is Adrian. And she criticized me. She said, Alan, you didn't vet this guy before you invited him on your show, did you? And I said, no, I didn't. She said, ooh, don't do that again. That makes you look bad. She said, this guy ain't even got no daughters, but yet he wrote a book about honest conversations with daughters. Who's going to read that book? I mean, here's the thing. He might have had some good shit in his book. He might have. He might have some good, advice in his book. But a lot of people are not going to read his book once they find out he ain't got no daughters, because to them, that means he has no credibility. Here's the difference. Let me break it down to a lot of you guys who are not aware of this. There's a difference between offering someone opinionated statements and offering someone legitimate advice. Let me repeat that. There's a difference between offering someone simply opinionated statements and offering someone legitimate advice. What's the difference? Let's take having a threesome with 2 women. A man having a sexual threesome with 2 women. If you ask me, Alan, can you give me some advice on how to seduce 2 women into having a threesome? And let's say I've never ever in my life indulged in a threesome with 2 women. but maybe I had a good friend that did, or a sibling that did, or a fraternity brother that did, or whatever. Or I watched a movie where a guy, seduced two women into having a threesome. See, if I speak from that perspective, what I'm doing is just giving you my opinion on what you should do. That would be me giving my opinion on what you should do. But that's not legitimate advice because I haven't had a threesome myself. That's not legitimate advice. That's just me offering you opinionated statements on what I think you should do. And see, I'm going to take a jab at some pickup artists in the manosphere and some dating coaches. There's a lot of people, man, that give guys advice that's not based on their true experiences, their own personal experience. I could call out some by name if I wanted to, but I'm not going to do that right now. But I can name no less than a half a dozen guys I could call out by name that I know for a fact that they be giving advice that they haven't experienced themselves. See, one thing people say about me, like I've told these stories a few times, but there was one guy I worked with in California. He was a one-on-one, face-to-face coaching client of mine. And at the end of our session, he just kind of looked at me. And I said, "Why are you looking at me?" He said, "Oh, man, I just really appreciate the advice you give me." He said, "I can tell listening to you, you've been in the trenches." That was a specific comment. He said, "I can tell you've been in the trenches." In other words, he was saying, "I can tell, Alan, you're speaking from your own personal experiences. You're not just talking out your ass or giving me advice based on somebody else in your life who experienced something. You talking from your own personal experience." Because I'm so detailed with my shit. That's how people can tell, because I'm so detailed. See, when you've experienced something yourself, that's when you can go into real, just layers of detail about the shit. But if you've only heard about somebody doing something or read about somebody doing something, you ain't going to have those layers, the same layers of detail. You ain't going to have those same layers of detail, man. Just about all the knowledge, wisdom, and insight I provide to you guys about women, it comes from my own personal experiences. It don't come from shit I heard about or shit I read in a book. It comes from my personal, actual experiences. That's why I know my shit. You know how well I know my shit? You know how well I know my shit? I just told this story 2 days ago because O'Shea Duke Jackson interviewed me on his channel 2 days ago. And I mentioned the story, and I'm going to mention it on my own channel. This is how you know your shit. In summer of 2016, I think it was August of 2016, I had a woman in Chicago, lived in a suburb of Chicago. Hold on one second. I had a woman in Chicago that invited me to do a podcast interview. She was doing a podcast. I don't even think she does them anymore, but for a period, she was doing podcasts that centered around today's dating scene and the challenges of today's dating scene. And she heard about me from this woman I went to college with. They're like real good friends. And so she was interviewing me. And then you know about my 4 archetypes I talk about is reciprocators, rejectors, wholesome pretenders, and erotic hypocrites, and manipulative time wasters. And when we got to the section when I was talking about manipulative time wasters, man, she was just giving me this look. Almost like a semi-glare. It was like, seemed like, I would describe her facial expression as a combination of surprised and a little agitated. Combination of surprise and agitated. Anyway, at one point, she just like walked out the room. She just like walked out the room. Like she was like mad at me or something. So I'm like, what's up with that? Anyway, a few days later, her friend, the one who referred her to me, ended up telling me, I said, why did your girl just walk out the room like that? She said to me, "I'm not uploading that podcast." And I said, "Really?" And sure enough, she didn't. She never did. She never uploaded that podcast interview. She interviewed me for about an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. She never even uploaded the podcast. But she told her friend who went to my alma mater, she said, I'm not uploading that podcast because this is her specific words. She said, that nigga know too much. That's what she said. She said, that nigga know too much. She said, if I was to upload that podcast, he would fuck up all my female friend shit. He would fuck it up. Because see, this woman, the woman who interviewed me, she had a bunch of female friends that knew how to use their manipulative tactics to take advantage of wealthy beta males. That was because she lived in this beautiful home because she used to be married to a wealthy beta male. And she had a bunch of friends who either currently married to wealthy beta males or even the ones who were single knew how to take advantage of them financially. But because of the shit that I broke down in the interview, man, she was like, oh, hell no, I ain't uploading this shit. Hell no. She was basically like, Alan Roger Currie. Matter of fact, I had a female friend just a couple weeks ago. She said, we were talking specifically about my book, The Possibility of Sex. She said, Alan, you ain't gonna never have no women help you sell that book. She said, I'm sure you've had women try to help you sell Mold 1. And she said, I'm definitely sure you've had women try to help you sell Ooh Say It Again, because that's a sexy book. But she said, your book, Possibly a Sex, she said, you ain't going to never get no assistance from women in selling that book, because she said, you give away too much of women's playbook in that book. She said, you just give away all of women's manipulative tactics in that book. She said, I'm surprised you don't have women that just hate you because of that book, The Possibility of Sex. Oh, now going back to that, I didn't finish with the Grim Reaper. Let me go back to the Grim Reaper real quick. The Grim Reaper had to issue an apology, man. Yep. On his most recent video he did, I think, on Tuesday, he had to actually issue an apology in his comment section. He didn't issue an apology on his actual video, at least not yet, but in his comment section, he issued an apology, man, because a lot of his followers got on his case. They got on his case. They was like, dude, if in so many words, it was basically like, here you are slamming Alan Roger Currie and talking about he's an immoral sociopath. But dude, you promoted his book for over a year and a half, man. What the fuck is that about? And he had to actually issue an apology. He basically admitted to his followers, he said, I thought I had read The Possibility of Sex thoroughly, but obviously I didn't. And for that, I apologize. If I had known that he mentions in that book that he had slept with other men's wives, fiancés, and girlfriends, he said, I would have never promoted his book the way I did. He said, for that, I am sorry. I truly apologize. Victory! Victory! Johnny Drama, victory! Yeah, man. You can't be promoting somebody's book and you ain't even thoroughly ready. Oh, and I got to call out one of my commenters by name. I'm going to call her out. And she's usually been a good commenter of mine. She goes by the name Queen Rashida. Queen Rashida. I've seen her comment in my comment section before. Assuming she's a woman. She could be a man pretending to be a woman based on some of the shit she said recently. But she said, she tried to like chastise me in her own way. She said, Alan, I don't remember her words, but basically like, I'm disappointed that you would, endorse the idea of sleeping with other men's wives, fiancés, and girlfriends. I thought all men had more of a man code than that. Insert dog face here. Why do I always have to tell you all? Usually it's men, but I guess now I got to tell men and women, again, assuming Queen Rashida is actually a woman. Now I got to tell men and women, wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up. See, that's the problem with a lot of you people, man. When I first got on YouTube, I told y'all that I wasn't going to be giving y'all no fluff talk, no idealist talk, talking always about how men and women should be. Anytime you always talking about how men and women should behave, that means you're what's known as an idealist. You're an idealist. And in worst case scenario, that means you're naive and delusional. I talk about shit that's really going on. Shit that really is happening or has happened. That's what I talk about. Shit that really is happening or has happened. I don't talk about shit of how shit could go or should go. You're living in a delusional fantasy world if you think all men got a fucking man code with each other. Now, if you're talking about close friends, yeah. There's a lot of men when it comes to their close friends. If they're athletes, they're teammates, or if they're in a fraternity, they're fraternity brothers, or if they're in the armed services, they're fellow soldiers. There's a lot of people who have a man code within people that they have some type of close relationship to. But if you're talking about just having a man code with somebody simply because they're of the same gender, man, get the fuck out of here with that bullshit. I ain't never had no fucking man code with a dude just because he's of my same gender. Hell no. Particularly, and I admitted this in one of my early videos. So nobody can say this should be surprising. I remember specifically in one of my videos I did back last April or last May. I was talking about how specifically I said, but when I was in my 20s and 30s, I said I was the seduction equivalent of a cold-blooded assassin. I remember specifically saying that. I said I said I'm actually improved in my 40s and 50s. But I said when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was the verbal seduction equivalent of a cold-blooded assassin. I didn't have no man code with no motherfucker. If your woman flirted with me or gave me any indication that I could get it, I got it. Period. Period. If you had a wife, now here's the thing I would say in my defense. I've said this before. I never aggressively pursued another man's wife, fiance, or girlfriend. I've never done that. I've never done that. I've never aggressively pursued another man's woman. But if another man's woman gave me what I call flirtatious rhythm, or basically gave me some type of sign that she was attracted to me and that I could hit it, I hit it. With the exception of guys who were really close to me. And I even admitted on one video, I remember this too, in April, that I even made the mistake one time. I even fucked one of my own buddy's girlfriends in high school. When I was a senior in high school, I fucked one of my high school classmates' girlfriends. And he didn't speak to me for like the next 3 or 4 years. And I actually did in that video. That's one time I expressed regret. I said I regretted that. So that was one instance, if no other instance, where I did say I regretted it. I said later on I regretted that because it negatively affected our friendship. But the thing, even in that situation, his girlfriend threw the pussy at me. I didn't go after her. She threw the pussy at me. I just took it. But anyway, going back to Queen Rashida, so 2 things to you. I already told her this, I think, in the comment section, but I'm going to reiterate it. Number 1, ain't no man got no fucking man code with no motherfucker they don't know. You living in a delusional fantasy world if you think men do have that or even should have that. Ain't no man gonna have no man code with a motherfucker he don't know. Shoot. I know I didn't. If I didn't know the dude, I didn't give a fuck about him. Second thing, as far as her, Queen Rashida, implying that I was still endorsing that, no, I don't. Matter of fact, speaking of chapter 9, Impossibility of Sex, I say that in chapter 9, Impossibility of Sex. In chapter 9, Impossibility of Sex, I basically say that the number 1 time I used to sleep with other men's women was roughly between the age of 17 and 37, 38. Yeah, I stopped no later than the age of 38. I might even stopped at the age of 37. So for about roughly 20 years, yeah, I was doing that. I want to say, if I had to give a rough estimate, I would say there was about 35 women that I had sex with between ages 17 and 37, which would be about a 20-year span. I would say I had sex with about 35 women that were either married, engaged to be married, or had a long-term boyfriend. And then starting with about 37, no later than 38, I stopped, and I mentioned that in the book. I said I don't really think that's cool. One of the biggest people who influenced me to change my ways was my older brother. Now, I remember we were talking one time about me doing that, and he just was like, dude, because he's real big into karma. And he was like, dude, that's not going to attract good karma in your life if you continue to do shit like that. He said, that's something you need to change, man. If you continue to do that, he said, you're going to attract bad karma into your life. And I ended up agreeing with him. I said, you're right. Although, I will confess that even past the age of 38, I no longer had physical sex with other dudes, women. But I'll openly admit, I think I've admitted this before on Blog Talk Radio and even here on YouTube. I've had phone sex with other dudes, women, even in my 40s. Yeah. Now, I've had phone sex with other dudes, women, even in my 40s. Although most of the instances, it wasn't like it was behind the boyfriend or husband's back. They knew it. I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. And I think I've admitted this once before, but this will blow your mind. Do you know when it comes to phone sex, I've actually had men that have referred their wives, fiancés, or girlfriends to me. Let me repeat that. When it comes to phone sex, I've actually had some men, not a whole lot, but quite a few. I've had men refer their wives, fiancés, or girlfriends to me. Particularly guys who are in the world of either BDSM and or polyamory. Guys who are in the world of BDSM and or polyamory. I've had guys that have referred their women to me. I'll give you one example. I remember one time I was on this site that most of you are familiar with called LinkedIn. And I had this woman write me. She was fine as fuck too. I want to say she was either... Who would I say she was? Do you remember Prince when he had that band called Vanity 6? That's old school. Most of you young people wouldn't remember that. But the lead singer, her name was Vanity. Well, this woman kind of looked like Vanity from Vanity 6, which was the late great musician Prince's band he had at one point. It was called Vanity 6. And, I mean, she was bad. I say on a scale from that mythical scale of 1 to 10, she was probably 9, minimum. Anyway, she wrote me and she said, yeah, I said, so how did you find me on LinkedIn? She said, actually, my fiance always talks about you. He has all your books. And I said, really? And then we were, talking, and she ended up saying, she said, yeah, actually, he wants me to have phone sex with you. And I was like, really? And she said, yeah, because he listens to your show, The Erotic Conversations, a lot. And he's allowed me to listen to it. And I told him that your episodes get my pussy wet listening to them. So he said, I want you to actually see if you can have phone sex with him so you can experience him firsthand. And I was like, really? Yeah, man. So we ended up having phone sex, man. Her fiance wanted me to have phone sex with her because she was a fan. Man, I've had quite... Here I go rubbing my balls in the guy's face again, as Tony Mason would say, but I'm just keeping shit real. I've had a lot of guys who have told me that their wives or fiancés or girlfriends have listened to episodes of the Erotic Conversations and gotten turned on. Oh, yeah. Oh, matter of fact, when you talk about stuff over the phone, some of y'all know a couple of my legendary stories, man. Like when I used to have my Blog Talk Radio show, man, there was a lot of women I used to talk dirty to in my interviews that were married or engaged to be married or had boyfriends. And a lot of times their dudes would be right in the room. I can name a few guests. I ain't going to name them right now. But there's a few guests I start talking dirty to during my Blog Talk Radio interview, and their husband or significant other was in the room. I've had women playing with their pussies while their boyfriends or husband were either in the room with them or at minimum in their house with them. See, here's what you guys got to understand that you guys not understand. First, I want to play this clip. I said I wasn't going to pick on the Grim Reaper, but I got to pick on him at least a little bit because I want to prove something to you guys. See, you know the statement. Remember I played that excerpt in my second reply to him? Where the one where he referred to himself as, he said, I'm the Grim Reaper up in this motherfucker. You know what the most important statement he makes in there that lets you know he's a beta male and he's never ever been a womanizing alpha male in his life? Is this statement right here. Let me play it.
A lot of women really don't want to fuck.
Right there. Let me play it again.
A lot of women really don't want to fuck.
He said a lot of women really don't want to fuck. That's what he said. You just heard him. He said a lot of women really don't want to fuck. Let me play it just one more time. So y'all not saying I'm the one who's saying he said that. He said it himself.
A lot of women really don't want to fuck.
Let me break down something, as you know I always break down to you guys. Listen closely. Pay attention to it. Get your notepad out. No womanizing alpha male, no man who in his life who either is a womanizing alpha male or used to be a womanizing alpha male would never, ever, ever make that statement. Ever. Ever. I've never in my life heard a guy who was a true, legitimate womanizing alpha male make that statement or any similar statement. I've said this in some of my videos in 2017. You know the only guys who believe that women don't want to fuck as much or more than men is beta males. Why? Because women don't show you that side. Period. And if you've read my books thoroughly, particularly The Possibility of Sex and the Beta Male Revolution, you should understand that by now. I did a whole, matter of fact, my most viewed video podcast to date, or one of my top 5, I think it's the one that's either number 1 or a minimum in my top 5. I did a podcast last year called Women Always Hide. Women always hide their true sexual nature from beta male types. They do. That's the basic nature of a woman being sexually duplicitous. That's the basic nature of women being sexually duplicitous. Women are never going to respond to beta males sexually the same way they do to alpha males. Never. You know one of the things that gave me an advantage being a woman's other man, and I would say any guy who's been in that position, the same position, they know this, and the guys I've talked to, they've concurred with me on this. You want to know at least one of the biggest advantages you gain being the other man? Is because a woman ain't going to try to ever play no roles with you. I think I mentioned this 2 days ago on O'Shea Duke Jackson interview. They ain't going to try to put on no facades with you. For example, if a woman is really, really kinky, if you're the other man, she gonna show you that side. But if you her boyfriend, fiance, husband, she's either not gonna show you that side at all, or it's gonna take you a long, long, long time for her to reveal that side from her. Cause see, this goes back to the whole Madonna horror complex. Women know that most men are highly judgmental towards promiscuous women. Most women know that most men are highly judgmental towards promiscuous women. So what do women who are really kinky and really promiscuous do? What do they say to themselves? What's the most obvious thing they're going to say to themselves? And this is why you have that archetype of women that I refer to as wholesome pretenders and erotic hypocrites. Most women, particularly women who have a strong desire to be in a long-term relationship with a guy or to get married, what are they going to do? They're going to say, well, I know guys are judgmental, so what I'm going to do is when I meet a guy who I think worth being in a relationship with, I'm going to pretend to be an innocent, wholesome good girl, a monogamy-oriented good girl type. Because I know that's what men like. I know that's the only type of woman that men want to date or marry, is the good girl types. So I'm going to play the role of a good girl. They basically start acting like you would acting in a movie or acting on a TV show. They put on a performance. See, but when you're a womanizing alpha male, women don't feel the need to do that shit. They show you who they really are. And see, the advantage being the other man, I'll give you one simple example, would be just talking dirty. Just talking dirty. If you're a woman's husband, you're a woman's fiance, you're a woman's boyfriend, more often than not, what are you going to do with your wife? What are you going to do with your wife, fiance, or girlfriend? If nothing else, you're going to treat her with a measure of respect. That's the whole reason why you're in a relationship with her, because you respect her. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in a relationship with her. So you're going to treat her with a measure of respect. And that's what they bank on. Like, for example, when you're having sex with a woman that's your wife or your girlfriend, you ain't going to be calling her no bitch. You ain't going to be calling her no slut. You ain't going to be calling her no hoe. You ain't going to say nothing like, get on your knees, bitch, and suck my dick. You ain't going to say no shit like that to your wife, your fiance, or girlfriend, because otherwise you wouldn't be with them. And they know that. See, women, let me break some shit down here. See, as some people call me Uncle Allen, let your boy Uncle Allen Roger Currie break some shit down to you. Well, really, this ain't nothing new. I broke this down many times in different ways. If a woman perceives you as a beta male type, trust and believe, she's not in a relationship with you primarily or exclusively because she enjoys having sex with you. That's what you got to understand. That's what you got to understand. If a woman just wants good dick and good dick only, she ain't going to never hook up with no beta male. I say that, not only do I say that multiple times. And Who Said Again, much to the chagrin of some of my listeners. I had a few guys tease me about that. They say, Alan, I was listening to your audiobook, Who Said Again, and man, if there's one point you hammer home over and over again, you say no woman is interested in having short-term, non-monogamous sex with a beta male. It's the truth, man. No woman wants to have highly kinky sex or real casual sex with a beta male. Unless you're paying for it. That's the only exception, is if you're paying for it. Like a prostitute, a call girl, or escort. But other than tricking, no woman wants to have free sex that's of a real kinky nature or a highly casual nature with a beta male. That's not what you're on the planet for. You beta males, that's not what you're on the planet for. At least in women's eyes, that's not what you're on the planet for. If women do want to have sex with you and you're a beta male type, they want you to be the romantic lover. The type of lover that's going to throw down rose petals on the floor, fix a warm bubble bath for them with candles, and you give them a Hallmark card with chocolates, and you just romantic. Number one, there's some women who don't really want sex from beta males, period. They just want to use them for their money. And then even if a woman does have a reasonably decent degree of sexual attraction for you, when you're a beta male, and I would say more specifically, when you're a woman's husband, fiance, or boyfriend, she wants you to be the romantic lover. See, here's where the guys who are the other man come in. See, while a woman's husband is being Mr. Lovey-dovey, Mr. Romantic, that same woman, this is how I can talk to her. I can say, bitch, get on your knees and suck my dick and lick my balls. Bitch. You know what she'll say? You probably think she'll say, oh my God, that's so offensive. That's so disrespectful. Oh my God, I can't believe you're talking to me that way. No. That woman's going to be like, oh, you're so nasty. Oh, I want to give you this pussy anytime you want to. Oh, you're so nasty. Oh, call me a bitch again. Suck my dick, bitch. Oh, you're making me dripping wet. Yeah, I'm a
fuck you in the ass, tear that pussy up, I'm going to slap my dick on your face. Then I just aggressively grab her head and just start jacking it up on my dick. Is she offended by that? Hell no, she loves that shit. Key word, contrast. Remember that. Contrast. A lot of women get off on that contrast. See, this is why I tell you guys to read erotica novels. Read erotica novels. Because one thing you learn from reading erotica novels, women, particularly women who like to maintain at least two lovers, they want a contrast. You ever watch a movie to do with like policemen, and when they're like interrogating a suspect, one of the things you hear them suggest, they'll say, okay, let's play good cop, bad cop. Some of you young guys might not be familiar with that, but if you watch a lot of movies and TV shows, you'll see these policemen, at least two policemen will play this routine that they call good cop, bad cop. This is what happens. First, the bad cop goes in and interrogates the guy, and he like goes off on the crime suspect. He like goes off. He comes like that short from physically assaulting him. And then what they do is they let the other cop come in the room, the interrogation room after him, and he's more of a lenient, nice guy. And what they're anticipating is that the crime suspect is going to say, okay, I'll tell you what really happened, but not your partner. He was an asshole. He was a jerk. But, since you're a good guy, I'll go ahead and tell you what really went down the day of the murder, or what really went down the day of the armed robbery. That's called good cop, bad cop. They want to present a contrast between the two cops' interrogation styles. Well, I don't know if that was the best analogy to use, but see, women, again, particularly women who like to maintain a minimum of two lovers, no woman, if she only has two lovers, wants both of them to be the same. If you didn't know that before, you know that now. No woman wants, if she has two lovers, she don't want both of them to be exactly the same. That defeats the purpose. Most women, they want one guy to be like a romantic type lover who's going to have sex with them in a very sweet, caring, gentle type manner. Type of guy that will have sex with a woman and say, look her in the eyes and say, I love you. I love you so much. You mean so much to me. I love you. And then they want the other lover to be like I was with those women I messed around with who were married, engaged to be married, or have boyfriends. They want another motherfucker that's going to just come in the room and say, bitch, take off your clothes so I can put my dick in your mouth. And hurry up and call me sir. Yes, sir. Say it again. Yes, sir. Whose pussy is it? It's your pussy. Who can get that pussy anytime I want? You can, Alan. You can get this pussy anytime you want to. And you're what? I'm married. But you give me what? This pussy? Because it's whose pussy? Your pussy? Wake the fuck up, fellas. Wake the fuck up, man. Women like that contrast, man. See, again, I sound repetitive when I keep saying this over and over again, but once again, when I have to highlight my book, The Possibility of Sex, that's why a lot of men, I always talk about how a lot of men both enjoyed the book, but to one degree or another, some men became dejected and depressed. And I'm not talking about even in a lighthearted way. Some guys literally became depressed after they read my book, The Possibility of Sex, because related to a lot of stuff I'm breaking down right now. Because a lot of guys genuinely didn't know that women had this duplicitous nature like that. They really didn't know. I had a lot of guys write me when that book first came out. I introduced that book in October 2012. I had a lot of guys, they were like, Alan, I had no clue that women were duplicitous like this, man. Particularly married women. Particularly like married women and women in relationships. You know, they knew from my book, Mo 1 and Who Said Again, they knew that a lot of single women could be duplicitous. So I would say my book, Mo 1, and my book, Who Said Again, were the books that let a lot of men know that single women were duplicitous. But it wasn't until I wrote The Possibility of Sex
that a lot of men realize how duplicitous women who are married or involved in a long-term romantic relationship can be. That was the first book where I really, talked about that and exposed that and discussed that. Yeah, man, a lot of you guys, man, I'm telling you, man, dude, I'm literally telling you, man, I can name times when I have a woman suck my dick at, say, 7 o'clock. And at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock that same night, I saw that woman at a party looking all hugged up with her boyfriend, fiance, or husband. Like she was just deeply in love with him. And like she would never cheat on him if somebody paid her to. And see, this goes back to what I was talking about just offering an opinion versus legitimate advice. The reason I have the credibility, keyword credibility, to give, to coach you guys, consult you guys, and give you the advice that I do is because I've experienced this shit firsthand. Like sexual duplicity. That ain't something I just heard about or read in a book. I've experienced women's sexual duplicity firsthand. And that comes from being women's other man. I've seen women firsthand be duplicitous, man. There's no womanizing alpha male on planet Earth that believes that women don't want to fuck just as much, if not more, than men do. No womanizing alpha male believes that shit. Only beta males who have to beg their wives or girlfriends for sex or do financial favors with them in exchange for sex believe that women don't want to fuck as much as men do and say stupid shit like this.
A lot of women really don't want to fuck.
Yes, they do. And I have fucked them. Period. Victory! Mode 1, baby. Don't be naive, man. Don't go all your life being a naive, delusional, frustrated beta male. Even if I don't help, even if my advice never helps you become the ladies' man you want to become or the womanizer you want to become, at bare minimum, if nothing else, my advice should change you and help you improve from becoming a naive and delusional and bitter and resentful beta male. It should wake you up. If nothing else, all the shit I'm telling you in my video podcasts and in my books should wake you the fuck up to how the world really works. Not how you want it to work or think it should work. How it really works. I'm out.
Yes, sir.
Say it again.
Yes, sir.
Who's the king?
Alan, you're the king.
Say it again.
Alan, you're the king. You're dominating me.
Say it again.
Alan, you're dominating me right now. Mode 1.
Mode 1.
Daddy, can I go, please? You're the king.
Say it again.
Oh, king. Oh, you're the fucking king. Yes. Yes. Yes.
You're the king, Alan.
AKA the king of verbal seduction. You know, it's the tone of your voice, how seductive your intonations are, the vibrations that you could just reach out over the phone lines and stroke a woman's breast just by the sound of your voice, how you could make her pussy so wet just by the sound of your voice. That's actually very hot.
So you said my show was what?
I said your show is powerful.
Oh, say it again.
Your show is powerful.
I bet the king would fuck me really good.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie.
Oh, yeah. Who's the king?
Alan Roger Currie. The king.
The king.
The king.